Welcome to the regular session of the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. We have a full quorum with all council members present. Council members Clay, Karn, Allen, and Gay. So I will call the meeting to order at this time. Our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item is our invocation. And Chaplain McKenzie can do that.
I think I'm the chaplain here today. So let us pray. Our eternal and everlasting Father, we are grateful for this opportunity to come together and to determine the business of your city. We thank you for each of our elected officials. We thank you for the sacrifice that they make on a daily basis to look out for our needs. We are grateful for a place called College Park that we can call our home. We ask, Father, that you would bless this meeting, that your will would be done. We pray also, Father, that as we meet, that you will continue to bless this place called College Park, that you will bless every single department head, all of our public safety staff, Lord God, every single employee. I won't name them all because you know them all. And God, so we thank you. And so once we leave this place, that we will be able to say that we have an amazing city doing amazing things under an amazing God. And it is in your name we pray. Amen.
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 Item number 2 is additions, deletions, amendments, and changes to the agenda. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, for 8D is a Delta. We talked about purchasing 7.47 acres. I'd like to add that to the agenda.
You said 8D?
8 Delta.
8D.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I would like to also 6B in Bravo, 6B. I'd like to request to defer the public hearing for 2510 West Point Avenue.
Okay, so that's removed.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor.
Any other additions, deletions, amendments, or changes? Hearing none, is there a motion for those 2?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Karn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 3A is approval of the regular session minutes from June 20th.
I move to approve with one small correction.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Karn. Go, Councilman Clay, you're right ahead.
Packet page 18, line 535. Lastly, I just came back from a 3-day trip, not come back.
Any other changes?
That's it for me.
All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 3B is approval of the workshop session minutes from June 20th.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. We are on to proclamations, resolutions, plaques, and announcements. We have 2 proclamations. We are designating August 2nd, 2022 as National Night Out in the City of College Park, and also a proclamation recognizing July as Parks and Recreation Month. So let's start with National Night Out. City of College Park recognizes National Night Out. Whereas the 39th annual National Night Out, a unique crime drug prevention event sponsored by the National Association of Town Watch, has been scheduled for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. And whereas the NNO provides a unique opportunity for the City of College Park to join forces with thousands of other communities across the country in promoting cooperative police community crime prevention efforts. And whereas all the residents and businesses play a vital role in assisting the College Park Police Department through joint crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in the City of College Park, and it's supportive of National Night Out 2022 locally. And whereas it is essential that all citizens of the City of College Park be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact that their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in the City of College Park. And whereas police community partnerships, neighborhood safety, awareness, and cooperation are important themes of the National Night Out program. We now call upon the citizens of the City of College Park to join with the College Park Police Department and the National Association of Town Watch in support of the 39th annual National Night Out on August 2nd, 2022. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park, Georgia, do hereby recognize August 2nd, 2022 as the 39th annual National Night Out. I would also be remiss if I didn't say that it's also my mother's birthday because she's sitting here in the audience. So I'm not trying to get in trouble later, but let's take a picture. City of College Park is also recognizing July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the City of College Park. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities, such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education, are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas Parks and Recreation are essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. The U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park do hereby recognize July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month. Proclaim this 11th day of July. Come on up. Come on, I see you all here. Come on, look at the picture. You're doing so much hard work, and we are so grateful for it. We really are. Ms. Ames, I believe that takes us to citizen remarks.
Yes, ma'am. The first comment is from Jamil McKenzie, 2447 Odell Way, to discuss events.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and I'm Jamil McKenzie. I'm the Executive Director of Ignite Resource Center, and I want to start off by thanking you, Mayor and Council, for choosing to partner with Ignite in the 22-23 year, and so that we can continue to contribute and to serve the residents of College Park. We've taken on a plethora of projects this year that are designed to enhance and improve the quality of life of our citizens. And we've been very concerned about literacy and realizing that reading is a vital component of succeeding. And so this Saturday, we'll have our third Read to Succeed. It'll be held at Sabrina Willis Park, and it'll be from 11 to 1, and we are going to be serving all of the apartments on that Camp Creek strip from 2700 to 2900. Also, we have 18 students that are enrolled in our Birthright by Legacy program for teen leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs. They have been interning for the summer. They're getting ready to go into their final 2 weeks of internships. And we also are grateful for a grant of $20,000 from Fulton County that is providing the intern stipends for several of the students in our program. Our next big event is going to be, after that, is going to be August 6th. It's our back to school. We're really excited about that. It's going to be at the GICC. And we want to thank you again, all of our councilmen who have contributed towards the purchase of backpacks. We're really looking forward to having an amazing time inside the GICC this year. We've been outside for the last couple of years. We'll be giving away book bags, school supplies, face masks, groceries. Our basketball teams, the Skyhawks and the Atlanta Dream, will be there. We just got word today that our Aetna's on board, and we're happy about that, especially since they have the contract here with the city, and they're going to give back to our community through being there as well. We've got a lot of other sponsors, and we're grateful for them. Finally, I'm happy that to announce that Ignite, or myself, I've been selected of 15 leaders across the United States by Chick-fil-A to represent their Incubator Accelerator Cohort Program. It's a 10-month program for leaders who are making an impact in their community. I'm looking forward to what that's going to do for us as an organization and myself. So I wanted to again thank you for all these opportunities have become viable for us because of the contributions that you have made to our organization. Thank you, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Ms. Ames?
Next is James Newberry, but I think he spoke already for the Black History. So we're going to have Shirley Robinson, 2741 Lakeshore Drive, to discuss taxes.
Good afternoon. My name is Shirley Robinson, and I live on Lakeshore Drive, and I stopped by to talk about the taxes for the seniors. I'm the one who turned it in to Councilman Gay about getting the taxes, get it on the ballot for election. So I understand that the mayor, the governor already signed the bill, and I'd just like to make sure everybody cooperate in getting it on the ballot so it can go up for election. So it's not easy out here for the seniors. I've been retired for like 20 years, and inflation has eaten up my paycheck, so I don't have a whole lot of money to pay a lot of taxes, and they billing $40,000 houses, $400,000 houses right up the street from me, and the taxes keep going up, and it's hard. You know, some of you guys can be okay with that, but somebody who have a check just off fixed income, it's very difficult to pay all that. So I'd just like to have all of y'all's consideration and making sure that it get on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ames?
Next is Alicia Houston, 3598 Valley Road, Ridge, to discuss Fulton County elections and mandates.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I live in Ward 1, and I saw on the agenda tonight that you guys are considering having a renewal of Fulton County to run our municipal elections, and I'm really concerned about that as a resident. Fulton County's been in the news for all the wrong reasons as it pertains to election running, and they don't actually do it themselves. They outsource it to a contractor that's incredibly expensive. And they also just recently changed the rules. It used to be that Fulton County would charge a city for however many registered voters we had in our city. And then if turnout was significantly lower than the number of registered voters that we had, they would refund us that difference. But they've since changed that. So with all of our budget concerns and all the other things we have going on, for a city as small as ours, with as few voters as we have turning out to an election, I think there's a lot better ways for us to do that that will be a better use of our taxpayer dollars and more transparent and accountable as far as the results. So I did a little research, and I talked to some other small cities like ours within Fulton County. Milton in particular recently put their renewal of the Fulton County contract, it's like an agreement, there's an acronym for it that I can't think of, to have them to run the elections. And they put together a panel with 2 of their council members, the city clerk and a member of city staff, and 2 residents to sit and figure out the best way to do it. There's actually between 30 and 50 cities within Georgia right now that do their own municipal elections on paper ballots locally at a fraction of the cost of what Fulton County passes through to us on the charges that they then pay on to, I keep wanting to say Happy Feet, that's my kid's movie, Happy Faces, for what they do with the administration of elections. And I think with all the lack of public trust that's out there these days in our state and in our county, I would really like to ask that you guys pause and maybe put a similar panel together for us to figure out how to run our own city elections here in our city in a very transparent and accountable way where everyone can see. Some of our council races have been decided by less than 100 votes. And it's not a huge undertaking for us with the public buildings that we already have for our precincts to be able to not just save money, but to create election transparency and accountability here. So I just wanted to ask you guys to consider that tonight.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ames?
One moment, stop my. Okay, I have no others that signed in, but I do have 3 that emailed comments. One moment. I'm working 2 clocks, my apologies. Okay, the first comment is from Marjorie Dent, and it reads, "Good evening, Madam Mayor, Bianca Motley Broom, and council members. My name is Marjorie Dent, and I reside at 4021 Jesse A. Dent Road, Ward 4. I have been a resident of the City of College Park for the past 47 years. I would like to address the bill before you tonight, House Bill 1417, which originally provided a full exemption to homestead residents 65 years or older. To my understanding, the bill that was introduced by Councilman Roger Gay was approved 3-2 by council. It was sponsored by our state legislative, approved in the House, and signed by the governor. House Bill 1417 provides a full exemption to homestead residents 65 years or older. Please ensure that the bill is placed on the ballot for November to be voted on by our seniors and all of our members of the community. Thanks for giving your support for this bill that will alleviate the burden of taxes for the seniors of College Park. Sincerely, Marjorie A. Dent, Pastor." The next comment is from Grace Phillips, and it reads, "In the season of bicycling and in the season of change in College Park, I encourage the mayor and council to consider the present assets of 6 West for bicycle tourism. College Park Main Street Association's strategic plan includes a plan for enhancing bike and pedestrian safety and thus enhancing the beauty of downtown College Park. While 6 West is still in rough development, it presents an excellent opportunity for mountain bike baths. We as a community would be remiss to not accept the expensive lift of creating mountain bike baths. I'm sorry, I lost my place. We as a community would be remiss not to accept the offer. I have learned that in the recent past, there was an MOU with MTB Atlanta to create this effort with minimal cost. Please put forth the effort to find and embrace the past MOU to bring more people downtown and explore our amazing potential in 6 West. Additionally, I'm extremely disheartened by the recent death of Main Street in Harvard involving the train. How can we make that intersection safer to prevent this from occurring again in the future? Thank you for your consideration and support. Grace Longsford, CPMSA board member and College Park resident. Okay, the next comment is from Celisa Jefferson, and it reads, Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm requesting your support to add to the November 22 ballot the city property tax exemption for our senior citizen homeowners. It's imperative for our community to support our seniors to help them save their homes, which they have made a lifetime commitment to thrive and provide as a legacy to their families. There should be no income restrictions added because our current homestead exemption is not based on income requirements. Let's come together to show our full cooperation and collaborate to help our senior citizens succeed. All the best to everyone and stay blessed. Sincerely, Ms. Celisa Jefferson, Vice Chair BIDA. And those are all my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Ames. Does anyone else wish to speak for 3 minutes?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Beulah Lindsay, and I reside at 3568 Herschel Road, College Park, Georgia, of course. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to speak on the issue that is of concern to me, and that is the tax exempt opportunity for seniors 65 and older. I fall in that category. I know you can't believe it, but I do. I'm just teasing. But I'm really concerned, not so much for myself, but others that are senior 65 and older, who may not have the opportunity that I have to be able to pay my taxes without a strain. There are so many that don't fall in that category, and those are the ones that I am concerned about. The lady who spoke about that earlier spoke and brought that initiative before Councilman Gay, and I'm delighted publicly to be able to thank Councilman Gay for bringing that initiative forward. It is my hope that this body will push that forward and think about the ones that are 65 and older and not punish the ones who can pay it just because we fall into that category. I don't think that we should keep those who are in need, as you know, times are hard. Gas prices are up and houses are going up. And at the same time, those persons who have incomes where it doesn't support that, they still have to pay those high taxes. Something about that isn't fair. So I ask this body if you would consider that and move that particular initiative forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Mayor, Council, and everyone. I'm Jolandra Taylor on behalf of Ignite. If you need flyers for the resource fair that's coming up and you want to register, we have them for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to greet you all tonight in the greetings of peace and understanding. My name is Larry Brady Evans. I reside at 2112 West Princeton Avenue, College Park, Georgia. I'd just like to address the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is I commend the city waterworks department. They are constructing a new runway street down from where I reside. I'm one of the last homeowners that reside in the old black neighborhood where only blacks could live at that time in College Park. And I want to address the city waterworks department for their work that they did to make sure that I had the service of water at my home by me being the only one over there. And I felt they went out the way to make sure that a citizen of College Park got the appropriate service that would that is rendered to all of College Park. Also, the good, I'd like to thank the Recreation Department for the work that they do, along with Sabrina and Rex Willis for their work that they do here in the city of College Park. It's very outstanding. The ugly. No, the bad. The bad is that rumors are going around in College Park and City Hall is being shook up by people not going in the same direction. You all are employed by College Park. You all should be on the same accord to wish and to hope that all of College Park receive the same benefits, and that those who are sitting on the council and in leadership positions, they be held accountable for the work that they've been hired to do. And the ugly is our police department. They have a wooden door that's been up there for over 4 months. And we here in College Park had always took pride in our city. We host the most busiest airport in the world, they say today. But our police department look like Mayberry, if you ask me. And I just like to say, I hope that those who have the ability to repair that door at the police precinct do so. And I thank you all for your leadership, and I pray that we get on the same accord, what we want for one, what we want for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no others, we will move on to item 6A. It is a public hearing for an amendment to the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission heard this case at their June 27th, 2022 meeting and recommended approval. Ms. Kurzik?
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
Tonight, our first item is an amendment to the comprehensive plan. If you recall, we had a presentation by Marta back in March. So this is actually a targeted amendment for that bus rapid transit line that will go through Clayton County. So just a reminder for everyone who may not have been involved in that meeting in the public, the reason for this amendment is because MARTA is applying for those Federal Transit Administration funding. And this is part of the requirements, not only by the city of College Park, but in all of the cities where the transit goes through in Clayton County to further support the goals of that funding. So if it's okay, I am going to turn it over to Ms. Anna Badget, who will walk you through some of the changes that are being proposed and targeted. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me this evening. I do have a presentation. I'm not sure if we can get that started. That'd be great. Yes. Again, I'm Anna Badget. I am a community planner with the consulting firm VHB, here representing MARTA. I'm going to walk you through some of that transit supportive land use that KC mentioned earlier, just to give you a little bit more background. I apologize for the formatting of the PowerPoint. But back in March of 2020, MARTA engaged in a transit supportive land use study for all of Clayton County surrounding two proposed transit lines. One is the South Lake BRT line, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. But the basis of that study is kind of evaluating land use around certain proposed station areas based on 5 elements of transit supportive land use. And that's density and intensity, mixed use, walkability, people-oriented design, and managed parking. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Basically, you're very aware of your comprehensive plan. You recently updated yours in 2021, but these are high-level, long-range documents looking 10 to 20 years into the future. They are required by the state of Georgia to maintain qualified local government status. And they must be updated every 5 years. Next slide. Like I mentioned, y'all updated your comprehensive plan last year, and so the next update won't be until 2026. Next slide. And so instead of a full-scale update, what we are talking about tonight is a comprehensive plan amendment. And those are usually used when there is a changing circumstance. And like Casey mentioned, MARTA is moving forward with the South Lake BRT project, and that's bus rapid transit, in Clayton County. So that is kind of the qualifying changing circumstance in this case. Next slide, please. So for College Park and the South Lake BRT line, as you can see on this map up on the screen, you have 3 station areas, and these are not specific stations. These are essentially areas that we identified through our parcel analysis through that transit supportive land use study of areas where we see moving towards more transit supportive land uses over time. And that first one is downtown College Park, where you have your existing MARTA station. The second is Old National Station at the intersection of Old National Highway and Godby Road. And then the third is West Fayetteville Station, where West Fayetteville intersects with Phoenix Boulevard. Next slide, please. So again, like Casey mentioned, the reason we are talking about a comprehensive plan amendment this evening is that MARTA is moving forward with an application for FTA funding to implement the South Lake BRT line. And in order for that to happen, one of the criteria the FDA is going to look at is transit supportive land use policy amongst the various jurisdictions along the South Lake BRT line. And the FTA funding, like I said, is critical to moving this forward, and a comprehensive plan amendment, as we have drafted it, would signify that College Park is supportive of the South Lake BRT line. Next slide, please. So what is exactly in the amendment? Just a general overview of the South Lake BRT project itself, some existing conditions and preliminary concepts for the 3 station areas I showed before, some goals and policies that go along with your other goals and policies in your comprehensive plan, changes to your character area map, that's your future land use map, and some additions to your community work program. So for the first station area, I'll go station by station. We have identified those boundaries that I mentioned through that transit supportive land use study, that parcel analysis. We're showing where that area is exactly on a parcel map, and we're also showing some development concepts that illustrate what transit supportive land use would look like moving forward with those policies. Not necessarily a development proposal, but just kind of illustrating what those policies would support. Next slide. Because you already have TOD zoning in this district, we are not recommending any changes to the character area map for this station specifically. But in the comprehensive plan amendment, we are identifying the district and providing some general information about that area. Next slide. For the Old National Station, we are also showing some development concepts and how that meets those big 5 elements that I mentioned earlier. Next slide. We're identifying that district on the map, what parcels are included in that station area. We're also recommending that the character area designation for this area be changed to a new character area, what we're calling transit-oriented redevelopment. And I'll go into what that character area designation would mean. Next slide. Similar with West Fayetteville, we identified the station area on a map, and then also provided some illustrative renderings to show what those policies look like in practice. Next slide. And then again, we are recommending for this station area as well to change the character area to transit-oriented redevelopment. Next slide. So again, what is transit-oriented redevelopment? We use the same format that your current comprehensive plan has for defining character areas. To prevent myself from repeating myself over and over again, these are transit-supportive land uses, mix of uses like residential, artisanal manufacturing, commercial, civic uses, so forth. The built form, again, would better support transit, have added density, pedestrian, people-oriented design, including better streetscapes and so forth. Related to zoning, what we're recommending is TOD redevelopment. That is not an existing zoning designation, but we are proposing that in the future that be created in your zoning code. Next slide. And so I'm not going to go through all of these, but we also added, it's a lot of text, I understand. We added some new goals and new policies. So again, encourage new growth and development in station areas is your first added goal. Enhance the transit-friendly character of the South Lake BRT corridor itself, as well as those station areas. Expand and enhance pedestrian infrastructure in station areas to create that comfortable, walkable environment. Also, reducing the amount and visibility of parking. That goes back to that managed parking element that I mentioned earlier. Pursue transit-supportive zoning regulations, and protect and promote affordable housing in station areas. Next slide, please. And so we also included some additional community work program items, some of which we have taken your existing work program items and just kind of changed them a little bit to elaborate or to tailor them to this transit supportive land use study. For instance, your land use item number 4, you already realize that Old National and the West Fayetteville station areas are priorities in your city. Instead of just creating a vision, we are suggesting you amend this work program item to also just go forward with a station area plan and developing a housing strategy for those areas. Some other land use items is just revise the existing TOD zone, zoning code in your existing code. We have I believe y'all have seen some implementation packets that detail what we're saying there. And then also revising the zoning ordinance to create that TOD redevelopment zone that I mentioned earlier. Also establishing a station area design review committee. Updating the downtown College Park LCI. Evaluating your existing tools and incentives to encourage TOD in those station areas. And finally, in addition to your existing priority sidewalk plan list that you have in your community work program already, we are kind of adding a little tidbit about, prioritizing those station areas in that effort. Next slide. Also in the amendment, we kind of outlined some of that community outreach we did in support of this amendment. The first was a BRT public workshop held in March. It was all the Clayton County jurisdictions that the South Lake BRT line passes through. And overall, we got 100% agreement on those proposed goals. We also issued a couple of surveys, one for all of Clayton County and one for the city of College Park. On the overall Clayton County survey, we received positive responses, most 60 to 75% on each of the proposed goals. And then we also opened up a public hearing last month and received no comments. So here we are today on July 11th at City Council. So the next phase is moving through the DCA and ARC approval process. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and at this time declare the public hearing open. So if you would like to discuss this particular item, feel free to come on down and share your thoughts. Seeing no one approaching the podium. I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. Comments from council. Councilman Clay?
I think this makes perfect sense. I thought it was a very thorough analysis that's been gone through. The only minor question I have, why 800-foot block lengths?
So we found that shorter block lengths encourage walkability and connection, so that's why we've proposed that amount.
So is that because you would typically have maybe, I'm not talking about BRT now, but a bus stop on each corner or something like that, so people wouldn't have to, they could get off the bus and not have to walk that far to wherever they wanted to go, or is it?
I think the intent behind the specific number is not necessarily the distance between bus stops, but more when you have smaller blocks, kind of like you have in downtown College Park already, it just encourages, we found, and it encourages more walkability and more connections and so forth.
Okay, that's all I have. I think it was excellent work
Thank you.
that's been done on it, and obviously we want to do this. I think BRT is going to be a great capability for the area.
Thank you, Councilman Councilman Clay. Councilman Carn?
Councilman Gay, Councilman Clay, just about the same council members. No difference whatsoever. Great project. We want to be as transportation friendly as possible, obviously. If you've taken a close look at our logo, it's Georgia's global city, and it says Transportation Gateway. A lot of people think air transportation automatically, but MARTA's a big part of it. So I'm excited about it. The more mobility we have, the more likelihood for live, work, and play and worship opportunities throughout the community. So I'm excited about it. I'm glad we're adding that in so MARTA can get what they need, so we can get what we need. So it's a win-win all the way around. So thank you so much. And very thorough, very, very thorough presentation, well put together. Plethora of information, almost too much information, but you can never have too much, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. Councilman Allen?
No, I think it's a great project. I think it's great for the south side. I think it's great for the citizens of College Park and the citizens in the neighboring cities. Again, like everyone has said, you all put together a good package. It was very good, a lot of thought, a lot of time. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gay.
It was a great project. Thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
All right, hearing no further comments, is there a motion?
So moved to.
Second?
Hold on, move to approve the amendment?
To approve the amendment,
All
yes.
right, thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 6B has been removed, so we are moving to the public hearing to consider a rezoning at 0 Mercer Avenue from R2 medium density residential to DC downtown commercial. The Planning Commission heard this case at their June 27th, 2022 meeting and recommended approval.
Good evening. Thank you again. As stated, this is a request to rezone to DC, downtown commercial. The property itself is actually located in the rear of 1755 Mercer Avenue, and it has never been developed. It's actually landlocked, is what we call it in our industry. So the project itself encompasses more parcels that will then be put together. So when Mr. Tom Dahlia comes up, you'll see him presenting the whole concept, and that's because we really think it'd be better that we show and understand the whole development other than this one little piece. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and planning staff is recommending approval. And you also heard that the Planning Commission recommended approval. So I will turn it over to the applicant to walk you through his presentation.
Thank you.
I don't know which way to show these things. My name is Tom Dahlia, and I live in the 04th Ward of the city and 671 Ralph McGill Boulevard. We do have a presentation, I believe, for this. Yeah. So that's the site, the total site, and if you don't mind going to the next one, that's the landlocked piece that Casey referred to. And our development requires a lot of different uses and parking, et cetera. And it's a very valuable piece to us, even though it's been landlocked for a long time. And so we just hope that you could see the benefit of tying that entire parcel together. Next, please. This is the historic Pure gas station that's on the corner of West Mercer and Main. If you can go to the next one, this is just another shot of it. And this is the home at 1747 Mercer. And then finally, there's a vacant piece in a small white building that we've already applied for a demolition permit on. It's a abandoned piece that we really need to take care of and open up the space a little bit more. So next. We had a lot of environmental issues with the site. We had some underground tanks, and we had some contamination from a dry cleaner that operated on the site for a while. And we worked closely with folks here, and we were actually approached by the City of College Park to be sponsored for an EPA grant, and that grant was successful. So we've been able to clean the site up environmentally, and it's done now. We are now looking to replace a lot of the lead contaminated wood that was on the property. And so we'll be moving forward with that as soon as we obtain permits for that. We are going to adapt the historic gas station to, and this is just examples of various adaptive use of older gas stations. You can go to the next one. We are looking to try to create a commercial vitality to the block, which is pretty much a gateway on the north side of the city, and we really want to make an anchor for people to recognize that you've entered College Park. We want to do retail in smaller buildings, clusters of smaller buildings. This is our 5th public hearing, and we are been working closely with the community and economic development, Tasha, and KC to kind of determine exactly what kind of density we need and what are the various uses that we could put into these retail areas. Next, please. And we also are looking at some alternative types of construction that bring a lot of interest and activity and provide some very interesting spaces. You'll see a little further along. These are some of the results of using these kind of structures. That's just another shot. This is a site plan that is, we've evolved it a little bit from this, and I'll show you some imagery a little later. But this site plan itself is approximately, that's about 14,000 square feet in the various buildings, and it's a mixture of restaurant and other food establishments as well as retail. And I'll go through that a little bit later. This is an image of what it would be like. And these are fairly accurate images of where we're going to end up with the project. The buildings in the very back of the site there, we have not been successful in purchasing that parcel, and we have made some minor changes to the site plan since this time. Can we go to the next one? This shows that we have a large lawn area, which we'd hope to use for weekend events and markets. And that would probably remain open for the next 3 to 4 years while we kind of test out how well we have nailed the marketplace in College Park. Go to the next one. This is a more updated site plan. We've reduced the size of the overall development to about 11,300 square feet. And by doing that, we've been able to reduce the parking needs for the site. And so we have, I think, a much more fully parked environment here. And so we're moving forward with this site plan at this point. And this would show you a completely built out solution, which would include a large building on the street. We'd still maintain about a 60 by 100 foot green space behind it. But in the end, having the buildings closely together, having more of a village feel to the site, we think is really important. Next, please. This just is another view of the development from the other side. And I guess we're on to other business.
Thank you very much. All righty. At this time, I will declare the public hearing open on this issue. If you wish to speak on it, come on down. And no one appears to wish to speak on this particular topic, so I will declare the public hearing closed. Questions from council, starting with Councilman Clay.
Well, good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you, sir.
I think it's fantastic to see us preserving the Pure Gas Station, and what you're doing with the property is amazing.
Thank you.
We even put together, or put to use, I should say, a landlocked piece of property. So I have no questions, really. I'm just totally behind the project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Carn?
I had a couple. It's a great site. It's a long time coming, and the preservation piece is great. Couple of questions I had. Your percentage of, apparently you're doing restaurant and retail. Is that pretty much?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Probably a little bit more restaurant than retail. It kind of depends. We are just starting to meet with potential tenants.
I was going to say, what's your percentage of restaurant to retail?
I would think that we could be in the 60% restaurant and 40% retail.
Okay, so how many spaces altogether? So
the individual buildings can be broken up into bigger or smaller spaces. So we definitely are planning to, if you could go back one slide, please. The front building with the gas station, that in the Quonset hut, the rounded building, and part of the home would all probably be one kind of restaurant gathering space. That would be a bar restaurant solution. Lots of outdoor eating there. The house may have a small bakery in it as well, and they would utilize the patios in the front and the back for that. And they would have some seating inside. The long building at the rear, right now we're talking about perhaps scoops, and it also has possibly the kitchens for some of the restaurant with the Quonset hut. And the smaller structures that are surround the green space, those would be retail. Scoops is an ice cream place, by the way. I don't know if that came through. And then the front building, we really want it try to get some people living on the site as well. So the lower level would be retail, we think, in the upper level, some apartments.
So maybe best guess 3 or 4 restaurants, perhaps?
I would say we're probably talking about 2 to 3 restaurants.
2 to 3 restaurants.
Yeah.
So
And if, you know, it really kind of depends. I'd love it to be, when you have multiple restaurants, I'd like to get about 3 eating establishments there, and ice cream shop might be one of them.
Okay, so 3 restaurants, maybe 3 retails as well?
You could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you could have 6 retail spaces depending on the size.
Okay, so it'll be more retail than
5 to
than
600 square feet. I'm looking at smaller retail spaces. I think they're gonna be more effective to bring the variety up. And also, the community has some real interest, but probably smaller spaces for those folks, you know, makers.
That makes good sense to me.
Yes, sir.
And the whole project makes good sense to me. I like it. It reminds me of kind of a little Avalon kind of a situation where
Great.
you have folks
Yeah, mini
living there.
Avalon.
And, now, everything I like about it except for one thing.
Okay.
Parking spaces. How many parking spaces? Now, the green space piece is great. And I get the village feel. But I just say to myself, why on earth would we want to reduce parking spaces in the corridor where parking spaces are absolutely the most needed? Every one is so crucial. You know, we are in desperate need of more parking spaces. And that's just a big issue along Main Street, period. And the parking spaces that you do have, will they be available to share with some of your retail neighbors, or is this going to be?
Well, we're having 41 spaces, which is, you know, when you look at a lot of the other spaces that are available at other vendors and restaurants, et cetera, along that area of Main Street, that's a lot of spaces. We have reduced the amount of square footage for about 25% to get to what we think is a reasonable balance on the parking versus the amount of retail space. Right now, the amount of space, leasable space in the project is right at a very, you know, it's very low for the ability to pull this off. And to sacrifice the diversity of the space and to make it a place that is very walkable and accessible to the neighborhood, what you're seeing as a city becomes more urban is the fact that people are parking in neighborhoods, and that is just part of the reality of densifying. We think that we've made a really good balance here between the parking and the amount of uses that we can put on the site, but I totally understand your concern, sir.
Well, this is a project in Councilman Clay's ward. I'm going to support whatever he wants to do with it because he's got his ward's best interests at heart. But I will tell you 2 last things, and then I'll hush. Parking in our neighborhoods, all of them, is one of our biggest problems that we're trying to avoid because there's not enough parking along Main Street. And I've seen a lot of Main Street businesses come and go. I've been up here since 05, and the amount of potential growth and success of all of the Main Street businesses has been really, really stunted based on the lack of parking, probably more than anything else. So I will say that, and and this is just me, I would strongly consider taking another look at that. And 41 spaces might seem like a lot, but the more people that can park there, the more likely they're going to patronize your businesses if it's convenient for them to do so. And if you share the parking with other businesses further down the road back and forth. What's going to happen is if they go somewhere else to eat, I'm sure your places are going to be great, because they have comfortable parking and they don't have to worry about being told or ticketed, they're going to shop at your boutique shops more likely, more comfortably, if their parking is covered and they feel comfortable with the parking. That's just a huge issue. So I'll just leave it at that, and that's all I got.
Well, I just would like to respond, if you don't mind backing up one. There's some, first of all, the whole north side of the city needs redevelopment, right? Can we all kind of agree that that's an important thing along Main Street? Right across the street from here, there's a large empty lot that would be ideal to provide some public parking opportunity there. That is going to be essential to meet the concerns that you're pointing out right now, is to have a public facility that allows more development on that site, in a denser development along Main Street. So I've spoken, Tasha actually brought it up to me as an opportunity in the future, and I think it's a great idea, and you know, perhaps it takes some public-private partnerships to make it happen, but you know, I'm willing to participate as much as I can.
Can I jump in on that?
Can I circle back to you after
Okay.
we go through everybody? All right, Councilman Allen?
Okay, I think it's a great project. I like being able to come in from the north side, coming down Roosevelt Highway and seeing the little village atmosphere, seeing people outside, seeing little shops. I envision little small artist areas where people can draw. I can see some kids running around in some of the little stores. So I think it's a great addition to College Park, and I thank you for bringing it all to us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gay?
I don't have anything.
All right. Councilman Clay?
Yeah, Tom, I've had conversations with Tasha, considerable conversations about parking.
Yes.
My dream right now is to have 2 parking garages along Main Street. One would be in that area. I even think that if you're thinking about the vacant lot, not across the tracks, but on the other side of the property, that's a potential location for that. I didn't bring it up here tonight because I've been bringing it up extensively, but I think the addition, what we're talking about tonight, of taking that landlocked property and adding onto yours makes perfect sense, and it brings that property into productive use. But as far as parking goes, I totally agree with Councilman Carn. We've got to do something, and it's not just at the north end of the city, it's at the south end of the city. And I've had some conversations with people from MARTA, for example, about the possibility of taking the MARTA lot and maybe even digging it down, because we're right near the landing path for the northernmost runway, but putting in a multiple level garage there. Then there's some other things that we could do in that area. But ultimately, I believe, I totally agree with Joe, that we are going to need a parking garage at each end of the city. If anybody goes to Savannah, they handle a huge amount of hospitality visitors there. And we say we're a hospitality city, and I certainly believe we are. We're going to need to accommodate parking. I don't think that we should be forcing it back on the citizens along the various side streets there. We've been trying to control that, but I get complaints almost on a daily basis of people who have not received their mail because somebody is parked in front of the mailbox. Now, we're working that issue to some extent, and sooner or later, we're going to be ticketing and towing, and we are doing that for people who park in front of fire hydrants, for example. All the time, people park in front of fire hydrants. So it's a definite issue. I don't see it being solved on your property per se, although I have discussed with Tasha asking the question, do we have the proper number of parking places for your area? And if we're cutting those short, I have some concerns about that, but that's not really germane to what we're talking about tonight. However, the way I'd actually like to solve the problem is not to have you sharing your spaces or forced to share your spaces with other businesses along there. I'd rather see us hit it head on. In fact, it's a good opportunity for an investor to come in and build a garage. You can make a pile of money off of a parking garage. It's expensive to build, but it's a good opportunity. So again, just so those out in TV land can know that we've not forgotten about the parking. And for those that are going to write me an email tomorrow about the parking, we are looking at it, and I'm going to bring that up in my report tonight, but I'm going to be asking the police chief where we are as far as the creating no parking areas along the main drags, which would be Rugby, for example, that would prevent people from parking in front of mailboxes and what have you. But excellent project. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Is there a motion to
So moved.
rezone? Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate it. Item 7A is consideration of an action on a request to approve an intergovernmental agreement with the Fulton County Board of Elections and Registration and resolution for provisions of election services for the November 8th, 2022 special election. Ms. Ames?
This is
Yeah.
fine, yes. So this is for the IGA to conduct the election and also the resolution to call the election for the homestead tax.
Yeah, this is actually a two-piece
Yes,
agenda item, and I would like to see them treated individually. In other words, we have two things to approve,
correct. The IGA and the resolution.
the IGA and the placing of an item on the ballot. And I'd like to discuss each of those separately.
Is there any objection? All right, hearing none, we'll tackle the IGA first.
I thought it was interesting comment that Alicia made. I hadn't thought about that. We haven't done that for several years. We used to conduct our own elections, and we went to the county really for two reasons. One was that it was less work for the staff and what have you. It was some ways more efficient. But the second reason was we had issues of people objecting to the way we were conducting the election. In other words, we had our own citizens, or sometimes council people would be observing, not going in and doing anything wrong, but observing the counting and so forth. And that created questions. I don't know the difference in cost. Alicia, thank you, by the way, for bringing that up. I don't think that, I don't have any idea. I don't know whether you have an idea of what
For
we could
this
say.
particular one, there is no cost to us for this election.
For this one, that's true, because
Yes.
it's,
Piggybacks on.
it's piggybacked on the regular election. Okay, I'm going to move to approve the IGA then, since there is no cost on this one, with Fulton County to run the election.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. Any further comments on approving the IGA? Councilman Carn? Anything? Councilman Allen?
No.
Councilman Gay? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen, that is unanimous. The second item is the resolution to put the homestead exemption on the ballot. Ms. Ames?
Okay, so yes, we need to have a resolution in order to move forward with the actual election. Fulton County will have their Board of Elections meeting, I believe, later this week, and they request that we have the resolution and the IGA if we would like to move forward. So that's the reason that's there.
Okay, so we just approved the IGA, I thought.
Yes.
So that's a done deal now. They're running the election.
Yes,
We have one more item then.
Yes, the
the
resolution.
resolution. We need the resolution.
Well, okay, we approved it, but the resolution does not include putting on the ballot the tax exemption, is that correct?
The resolution is to call the election.
Is to call the election.
Yes,
Then we still have one item to approve, to put onto the ballot the tax exemption, correct?
that's all in one resolution.
Then I have a problem with approving the resolution itself.
Okay.
Should I comment, Mayor?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Councilman Gay, to his credit, and to the credit of the citizen that mentioned tonight that they suggested to him, went forward and championed putting the senior tax exemption on the ballot. Danielle Metricardi, attorney, and I we were basing it on the Fulton County exemption, and that was a means test exemption. In other words, everybody over 65 did not get it, or 65 or over did not get it. And there were some loopholes in it as well. So we worked on it, got the loopholes out of it for the most part, and we got a approval by council for a bill that we basically wrote the text of the bill that could be given in theory to the legislative delegation, our legislative delegation, to make a charter change to approve that. What came back from the legislature's attorneys in no way compared with what the council had actually approved. And we approved it on a 3-2 vote. In other words, it was two of us, again, 2-2 on council, and the mayor made the deciding vote, so it was a 3-2. But half the council was split on it. I thought it was a good thing. I totally agree with the people that have spoken tonight that I am very concerned about seniors being forced out of their home by rising property taxes. And I've watched the value of properties just in my neighborhood go up sometimes 100%, sometimes 150% in the last several years. So eventually that's going to drive up the values of all the property around it. Having said that, that'll drive up property tax, obviously. The problem I have is that there are a lot of people, including myself, that there is no way that we should be getting a senior tax exemption. And it's not just the idea that it is depriving the city of revenue. For example, if you're 65 and you have $1 million house, and I have some $1 million houses in my ward, you don't have to pay any property tax to the city of College Park under this amendment. That's just plain wrong. And that needs to be fixed. Now, it is my understanding that if we do not put this item on the ballot, that at the end of this year, the bill that was signed by the governor expires. And we have another bite of the apple, or can have another bite of the apple, in the next legislative section after that. So while I hate the thought of delaying the exemption for seniors who could use it now, I don't think it's right to pass legislation that exempts a bunch of people that don't need to be exempted, and secondarily, it creates other effects. For example, you want to build $1 million house in College Park, and you got another house in Alpharetta, let's say. Build your house, put grandma on the deed so that she's the principal taxpayer, and you've got a second house in College Park with 0 property taxes, because grandma is on the deed and she's the principal owner, taxpayer, whatever you want to call it. That's just plain wrong. The other thing that this could introduce, I do not want to see College Park turning into a Sun City. I don't know whether people know Sun City. I lived in Arizona, and there are Sun Cities all over the country. But it's a society of elderly people. I never wanted to live with just young people when I was younger, and I don't want to live just with elderly people that I'm older. I don't think it's healthy for the city. And I think that is another side effect that will come if we pass this kind of legislation. So I do not intend to vote to put that on the ballot. I do vote that we call the election. So I would propose that we change the resolution. And in fact, I'll make a motion that we change the resolution to call the election, but that we do not put on the ballot this flawed legislation that has been approved. And that's my motion. And then I would champion, along with Councilman Gay, that we do put it on for another bite of the apple in the next most soonest available time, so that we can benefit the senior citizens that need it. That's my motion.
And
Can you, hold on 1 second, Councilman Allen, because a motion has been made. I want to be clear about the motion, though. And Mr. Denmark, are you clear with the motion?
I believe I'm clear on the motion.
Okay. All right. Everyone clear on that motion?
I have a question.
Can you repeat it for my record, please?
Pardon?
She asked if you could repeat it.
Okay, the motion is that we have Fulton County hold the election for us, but it does not include the part that's in the resolution now that says we will also put the tax exemption, senior tax exemption, on this ballot.
I have a question.
Hold on 1 second. Is there a second?
I'll second with comment.
All right. Wait, hold on. Councilman Gay wanted to go ahead and comment, so I'll let him go first.
Okay, my opinion, when we sit up here and we vote, and we take whether we like it or not, sometimes you get the vote, sometimes you don't, but once we decide, that is what's decided. If it's changed, like this was changed several ways, there's no way that I can vote on a bill going forward that is not the same bill that we approved here in council.
Councilman Gay?
So I sponsored this action about a year ago, and it took about a couple months to have Zoom meetings with Councilman Clay about the bill, and he gave us our support, and it passed 3-2. Myself, Councilman Clay, and the mayor voted, and Councilman member Allen and the former Derek Taylor voted nay. What isn't said tonight is that the cost to the city of this bill, the way that Councilman Clay suggested that he supported it, is $180,000. Let me repeat that. the cost to the city is $180,000 the way it's signed. The way the governor signed it, it would be 180. The way Councilmember Clay signed it would be 100,000. In other words, the budget we just approved was $140 million. It was $140 million. This bill that we're talking about cost the city a total of $180,000. Tonight, we're getting ready to spend $190,000 on a creek, to find a creek near Whitwood. And the other point that's important to know is that seniors cannot afford to pay the city property tax. What the council member is not telling y'all is that when this motion was passed, we hired a lobbyist firm called Dunn Bollier. We gave them over $75,000 to go down to the General Assembly and sponsor this bill. There are only two bills on the ballot. It was the most tax, and it was this bill. He was to take that bill and take it to our legislator, which was William Bodie, Nan Orrick. Somehow or another, citizens, the bill left this chamber. It never was given to Don Bollier. The ordinance that Councilmember Clay and Councilmember Allen is saying that they're not comfortable with never left this chamber, was never left and went to the lobbyists. I called the legislative council and I said the governor home bill says the city shall put this bill on the referendum. It said shall. That's the law of the General Assembly. When the people vote, it's codified. What I suggested was put it on the ballot and let the people vote it down. It still has to be voted by the people. Let them vote it down. The other thing is, next year, this body can change it. But let's not defy the order of the governor. Let's not let the governor know that this body defied his order when 3 elected officials in the House got it approved. What does that look like in College Park, that all 3 elected officials, Nan Orrick, William Bodie, all of them sponsored this bill through the House and it got approved? And then this body won't take responsibility. A month before the bill was signed by the governor, our mayor, our former city manager, our current interim city manager, and a delegation team went down to the Capitol a month before this bill was signed. And I'm putting this on the record because I will call for a class action suit. It will be a class action suit called for, because when we had this legislative delegation, there was only 2 items on the agenda, Councilmember Allen. Only 2 items on the agenda. How is it that a team of professionals don't look at a bill, it go to the governor and get signed? In other words, if your elected officials are down at the legislative capitol and you having a legislative conference about what's before the General Assembly for the city, how do you not check a bill? So you saying you don't feel comfortable signing it, but you don't take responsibility that this body made the error. The second thing is, you're saying to this community that on Jones Circle, where you campaign, there are people over there who can't pay their taxes. In the cul-de-sac across from your house, there are old people that can't pay their taxes. In my ward, there are people can't pay their taxes. But it only costs $180,000. If you're not outraged about that, you don't deserve to even care about anything. If you're not outraged that this body would vote down $180,000
but spend $140 million of your tax money. And what's so sad about it is there are people who are so miserable in their decisions that they would rather you not live in your house. Let me tell you something else and I'm done. We sell your tax. We sell your property tax. Ken, Ambrose, there's a lady who owed approximately $337. She caught cancer, attorney. She caught cancer. Her brother's an alcoholic. He ain't pay her $300 property tax. Maddie been living in that house for 30 years. They came down here and sold Maddie tax. We don't send it to Invesco. We send it to, we bring it down here and we sell it. Her tax lien for $300-something sold for approximately $140,000. But the investor was happy to buy it because the house is worth about $275. He know you can't, that estate, when she died, that estate most likely can't get that house back. And that's what we do here. That is what we do. It is inconceivable that these men would be that prejudiced, that inconsiderate, that awful, that hateful, that they rather say to you, because I got 2 of y'all to vote for me, I would rather you don't even be able to pay your tax, but I'll vote for you to find the Flint River water. I'll buy some software, $2, $3, $4, $5 million. They care more about that than you, the people that built this city. And there's people in my ward who are so miserable that they rather come here and look at me, act out as if you're hurting me. We're blessed. As you can tell, my family is blessed. We're fighting for you. We're fighting for people that look like your mama. We fight for people that look like your mother. This city should be outraged. In this next election, none of these people should be sitting here in this next election. In 17 months, you do not deserve to sit up here. You took a picture at the trunk or treat with little black children with a Superman outfit on.
Councilman,
Giving those people at the Seniors Appreciation Day.
Councilman, I'm going to ask that you refrain from personal attacks.
I'll sum it up. But now, when we need you, when these people really need your leadership, last thing I want to say, Whitwood Academy has approximately $250 million in assets. Their property costs nearly about $250 million. They have 67 parcels. They pay less than $60,000 in property tax. Less than $60,000 in property tax. But you think that we're asking for welfare, but you all the one getting y'all the one getting the benefits off of our backs. The First United Methodist Church is getting ready to build a development at the parking lot. They tax exempt. But you think we're asking you for handouts. The warehouse on White City Road, they stuck it in your ward, people, and they don't even pay tax. They went down to Fulton County Development Authority and got it tax exempt. But we asking you for $100,000 out of a $140 million budget. And you come down here, you Michael and all y'all, you come down here, you ask for these checks, you ask for this money, and you walk out of here and you take out millions of dollars and you give us nothing.
Councilman Carr?
A couple of things. Folks, as you can see, it's a very passionate subject, and rightfully so. And as messy as it may sound, this is what you call good government. you deliberate an issue, and you work around it until you come to the best decision you can for residents. I care for all of our residents. I want to see the welfare of all of our residents from every corner of the city do well. And speaking for myself, anytime I'm up here and I got to make an important decision, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm doing it with the residents' interest in mind, all of them. And every time I do make a decision up here, and I've made more decisions up here probably than anyone, you best believe it's going to be my best bet for residents. All right, so here's the problem. I guess when I was still on the county commission, y'all got this thing together. And last year, you know, we talked this thing up. We let folks know about this much needed relief. We did do that. We did hire a lobbyist to escort this bill through the legislative process, because on staff we do not have the expertise to completely do that ourselves. Throughout this entire process, you know, also our administrative staff had a role in it as well. And at some point, at some point, we dropped the ball. And when I say we, either way, whether it's our lobbyists that we hired or whether it was an administrative issue, we dropped the ball. So first of all, we have to admit a part of the issue and the problem. You know, it's an old saying that says, you cannot solve a problem that you won't acknowledge that you have. So I hope I got that part out the way. The other thing I will say, you know, being on council or being in government, period, you know, when you sit up high up here on this dais, it's easy to point the finger at folks. Sometimes it's pretty easy. What's a little bit harder is pointing the finger at yourself if you made the mistake. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, obviously we made the mistake either way. If it was lobbyists or our staff administration, either way, it was us. Now, we talked this thing up, we told residents about it, we explained what we were gonna do, we had some community support about it, and we voted it up or down. Now, when you make a mistake, no matter who you are at the end of the day, if you're an adult, you gotta eat that mistake, am I right? If you make a mistake, you're going to have to eat that mistake. So I would recommend this. This property tax increase exception would apply to residents 65 and over. This is our seniors. Obviously, that's part of our most vulnerable population. Now, some, like Ambrose said, you know, are well off enough where they have no need for a senior homestead tax exemption at all. I'm gonna hope that those folks that know they're well off and are blessed enough to be well off and are not the most in need will have the wherewithal to be thankful for that blessing and not take more than it's needed. On the other side of that, there are residents that are struggling, that are deciding right now whether or not they're going to pay their light bill or food or medicine that they need because the rent, because the property taxes are so very, very high. Another thing I'll say is to our state reps, our state legislative delegation, they did what we asked them to. They took our bills up there and they carried the water for us on the state level. And they fought and pushed and pulled, and they got our bill across the finish line to the governor's desk. It wasn't their responsibility to make sure that the details in the bill were correct. Are y'all following me so far? That was our responsibility. Now, with that being said, We've also been talking about the possibility of a property tax increase in general that is needed in the city. Anybody that watched this budget process that we just went through throughout April can see that obviously all of our needs are not being met in terms of the level of service that we want to provide for residents, and in turn, the level of service that residents expect from us. So if you've been following any of these meetings, we have been talking around the possibility of a property tax increase. Now, if we make a decision on that at some later date, then my hope is that that property tax increase will offset those that take a senior tax exemption. And I want y'all to follow me here. If we increase property taxes, they will increase for residents 64 and under, which is a less vulnerable population. But that increase will supplement and offset the loss that we may incur from our more vulnerable population, 65 and over. So that's where I'm at with it. In terms of Whitwood Academy, they are a community partner. Now, they're an educational institution, which, you know, classifies them in a different tax bracket. So, I mean, are they successful? Do they do well? Yes. I mean, I pulled their 990s, you know. Did they make 90+ million every year in revenue? Yes. But that's law beyond the scope of our ability to change. That's state law. That's why I encourage everybody in November, whether this is on the ballot or not, to vote. These items are important. These local items are very, very important. So with that, that's my take on it if we do keep this on the ballot. And another thing we have to keep in mind, it's hard to get the governor to sign off on a piece of legislation for, you know, all 537 cities that we have, and when we get a governor, whoever that is, to sign off on it, you can't play around with that type of stuff. And what I say by that is this: we may have a second bite at the apple, maybe, but a lot of the times, if someone goes to the length of signing off something for you, if you say, well, hey, well, thanks a lot, but we don't want that one, the next time you come to that person, if it's the same person, they may not be so apt to do what you like, because they don't have time to toy around with a city that can't get their act together. So I'm going to leave it at that, and that's all I got.
Mayor, can I make one more comment?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say that the revenue numbers that we were talking about are based on staff analysis that I don't think correlates with the exact details. But even if it's 200,000, I'm not going to get lost in the weeds. The point is, those are the numbers today. If what I predict will happen happens, if this is put on the ballot, it is going to pass. Undoubtedly it's going to pass. Who would not pass this legislation? There may be a few, but I think in the privacy of the voting booth, why not? Why not get my taxes reduced, regardless of what my social needs are? Once it's on the ballot, it'll pass. And once it's passed, it will never be taken off. There is no way that 2 years from now, when property values have changed, when bunch of things have changed, there is no way anybody's going to put on the ballot something that says, take away the exemptions for senior citizens 65 and over. Not going to happen. So the decision as to whether that goes, don't fool yourself, the decision whether that goes and becomes permanent is going to be made tonight as to whether we put it on the ballot or not. As far as the second bite at the apple, as I called it, I agree with some of the things that Councilman Carn said. I'm concerned about that too. I'm concerned that we not embarrass our legislative delegation, if that's possible. He's closer to it than I am, as having been on the county, and he does spend a lot of time down at the Capitol. So I think that's a concern, a valid concern. But I have a real problem with creating something that is irrevocable and is potentially going to change the character of the city as far as demographics and open things up to, I won't call it fraud because it's totally legal, but putting grandma on the deed is an evasive technique that it'll happen. I guarantee it.
He had
That's
a
all I
chance. He had a chance to comment. May I comment?
Yes, sir, you may.
First off, I don't think it's fair to tell the citizens that you're going to fraud us. To assume that you are fraudulent, it's not fair. The second thing is, the citizens that most need this are certainly not in my ward. So anybody going to fraud the system, they definitely don't live in the areas where I am the elected officials. The third thing is that that's not true. Mayor, this body next year could change it to be 65, and our lobbyists could go to the governor and explain that we're fixing it. To not put it on the ballot is to defeat the ballot. The citizens are the final arbitrator. We're not. The citizens are the final arbitrator. They hear us. They're listening. They can go to the ballot and say, I feel like this councilman, I feel like this councilman. They can defeat it. It is not our duty to not put it on the ballot because, more importantly, when I talked to the legislative council, he said it is the law of the General Assembly that it shall be put on the ballot. Now, that's up to your community to sue. But to have, and the final thing I want to say, but for us to create a bill at age 70 and no income cap, and as Lisa Jefferson pointed out in her email, it's not based on how much you make anyways. But for you to have a resolution and not give it to the lobbyists, and then somehow it's sponsored by 3 elected officials, and then everybody looking down right now as if they take no responsibility. You guys are making hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries. We pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And all we asking for is to admit to a mistake that will cost us possibly an extra $80,000. Possibly an extra $80,000. But those of you who are watching, if you listen tonight, they want you to vote for thousands of dollars of things that don't even really matter to your lives. It doesn't even matter. But when it comes to citizens, people who have lived in this ward for 20, 30, 40 years, raised their children, seen their spouses die, live in their houses, and don't even know how they're going to pay their taxes, that's called gentrification. That's what that's called. It's called gentrification. And for y'all who don't know what that means, it means they come in your community, you can't pay your taxes, your legislative support. For all we know, and I'm done, for all we know, you all might be buying the tax liens.
Any other comments? All right. I agree, Councilman Carn. I wholeheartedly agree. We dropped the ball. And what was passed in this body that I wholeheartedly supported was not what we have right now. And I've already had people talking to me about, oh, I can switch a house into someone else's name and get a tax exemption here. If the impact is broader than what's been projected because of that, because the guardrails that we established as a body do not exist, then any shortfalls would come from a property tax increase that would be larger than necessary because of the lack of guardrails. Our goal was to keep seniors in their homes, those who were most vulnerable, and those who could least afford the increases that we're seeing. What's in front of us does not reflect those goals. I think we need to do it right. So if it comes down to me, that is how I will go. I think we need to do it right.
You can put the house in your grandmama's name and she's 70. You can put the house in her name, she 80. That don't mean nothing. You just don't want to do it. You don't care about these people. And you people need to care about this
I would ask you to
election that's
refrain
coming
from
up.
personal attacks. Councilman Carn?
If I could just add one other thing from the county level. There may be at some point I've understood that there may be some legislation coming up from the county level that may help to close some of those loopholes you were referring to. Now, whether or not that goes up, passes legislative muster from the county for that very issue in terms of, switcheroos and the whole nine and loopholes, I would dare not assume to have the objective wisdom to make the determination of what they're going to do with that, but that's also a possibility for a bit of breaks on this thing as well. So that's a possibility out there if that makes any difference to anybody else. So.
Any other comments?
I just got a text. In 2021 Tax Digest for the city in Fulton County, the portion of our city in Clayton County is nearly all commercial and industrial apartments. The portion of the city in Clayton County is nearly all commercial and industrial apartments. We have 4,626 houses. 4,626 houses. He's talking about benchmarks and protections. The 40% appraised value of them is approximately $209 million. Our appraised value for all of our properties for those 4,626 houses, the appraised value is $209 million. The number times your millage rate of 12.69 mils equals 2.6 million. So the homestead part for 65 and older is just 10% of that number. And the residential revenue is 2.6 million, or just 2% of your annual budget. So it boils down to say, this financial analysis says, I'm being conservative with my numbers, I'm being loose with my numbers, but the cost would not exceed $180,000.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of Councilman Clay's motion?
Could you read the motion one more time, Shavela, please, just so we're clear?
Yes, it's to call the election without the tax exemption on the ballot and to put it on the next available election.
That's without this question.
Without.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
Opposed.
The motion passes. Item 7B is consideration of an action on a request from Foster Foundation to hold a Campaign College Park event on August 14th, 2022 from 9:30 to 4 at Bill Badget Stadium.
This is a special event request for Foster Foundation. The representative is here, Mr. Wilson. If you guys have any questions, he would like to utilize Badget Stadium to do a family fun day, so to speak. And he's here if you have any questions.
So we'll start with Councilman Clay.
Could you explain in a little more detail what the purpose of this event is?
Well, the purpose is to shed light on young individuals that come from the same circumstances I come from. I was raised in the foster care system and emancipated out of the system at the age of 17 years old. And working with DFACs for Fulton County and DeKalb County, I'm learning that there's a disconnect between the families and the youth, and just the general youth in general. Because of some of the things I've done in my career, musically, having a trade also as a network analyst, I have a broad scope of success. I did not finish college. I do own a property. I'm self-educated and I'm self-driven. I believe that I have the connection to reach out to the youth of College Park. The reason I chose College Park is because this is part of my journey on my way up. I met my foster care brother that actually lived in College Park. I was able to live with him for about 2 or 3 years on Constant Street. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Constant Street. And it was just part of my journey, so I wanted to backstep my tracks. I wanted to start where I first had my first like family experience with my brother, and go down to every city, every state, and reach out to the youth that come from where I come from. It's an overlooked community, and I believe that you know, the next judges, the next lawyers, the next councilmen like yourself will come out of the foster care system, and I want to give them hope and partner with College Park to say we haven't forgot about you.
Wow. Thank you for coming. So I know there's a lot of problems with, at least I've read in the newspaper, a lot of problems with DFACs, with the foster care system and so forth.
Correct.
And what I'm hearing is that this is a way of sort of creating a brotherhood, if you will, of people in foster care, and maybe reaching, do you hope to gather political and maybe financial assistance to improve the system, or?
So, not to cut you off, but I always say I can't change the system, but I can impact the lives in the system. So this is a community event spotlighting College Park and the fact that they want to shed light on this community. Not only the foster care community, but youth of all ages between the age of 9 and 18 years old. This day is a day of just celebration, saying that we haven't forgot you. So we have some certain things for the foster care community in specifically, where they're going to meet with the police officers, where it's like a scavenger hunt, where they have to meet with officials, because we want to rebuild the relationship between the youth and you know, government members. Just to be honest with you, I still get scared sometimes when I meet officers, and I have great relationships with them. So I can only imagine what a young guy might look like with dreads like myself, who might not be as well spoken as me, who just might be a good kid, but his image is not quite there yet. I want to reach out to those kids and say, hey, what do you want to do? Let us foster your growth. Let us pair you with these members of the community and let you know that they haven't forgot you.
Wow.
They feel
Okay.
forgotten. So I'm sorry if I'm a little passionate, but
that's what we need is passion. Okay, well, I really commend you for it. I may drop in.
I really hope you do. This is something that is not only for college, well, this is to celebrate College Park. So we're not only reaching out to the members and residents of College Park, we're reaching out to the whole Fulton County and state of Georgia.
Right.
If you're here on this day, we want you to come celebrate College Park, because you guys are breaking the mold and changing the way we look at this community.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, sir.
Questions, Councilman Carter?
Good to hear about your organization. I'm not familiar with it, but sounds like these are the kind of community partners that we need in the community. And if everything goes well at your event, I think there may be some opportunities where there can be some other partnerships. But this is the type of stuff we want in the community. You know, we're looking for assets to the community. We're not looking for liabilities.
No, sir.
I need more assets. And this sounds like an asset. So, yeah, this is a good deal.
If you don't mind me chiming in, I just wanted to, inform them of something. I've been a nonprofit for the last 9 months. I am an official 501c3. I was able to donate over 100 bikes packed in my car to different foster care children across the country. I just got a partnership with Nike to do the same thing this Christmas, and I also have a partnership with Walmart to do the same thing. The partnership with Nike is a community ambassador project, because fitness is a big thing for youth. They're not outside, being active, and basically I have their manpower to help me basically put the kids through courses of doing jumping jacks, light push-ups, maybe running around the track, things of that nature. So it's a plethora of things from physical to mental health to just needs in general, where we're going to be we're going to foster the growth of the community across the country. Just want to put that out there.
Councilman Allen?
So this is not just for foster kids, it's for any kids that wants to come?
Correct. We want it to be inclusive of the community. So I went to a foster event in College Park recently, and it almost felt like segregated a little bit. Like they didn't, I want them to feel included. Like one of you guys' core values is the same as ours, is inclusion, equality, not to feel different just because you're in foster care. They go to the same schools, they go to the same thing, so to have something where, we do give them, special incentive, but, they're around their friends. They don't feel any different.
Yeah. How many people do you expect to?
Well, we're hoping between 50 and 75 people at the most. I am partnering with the Children's Services, so they are going to add this to their docket for the families to be able to sign up. And we're going to do some special things for the families, the parents, and partnering with Mr. Lance from the Recreation Department of you guys. He's going to kind of help me facilitate what that looks like.
Do they need to sign up, or can they just?
Well, that's the one thing. I did not want to go too far into it until I got, the approval from you guys. But we're going to do certain sign-ups for like the treasure hunt and the police thing, because they have to get bans from the police in order to get their gift. Because it's going to be kind of like a maze where you might sign up at the table, then they're like, all right, the police station is the first one, then the fire truck, and then, we might have a couple council members that might want to, say, hey, this is what I do. If you want to do this, we might have a way for you to sign up for a program that College Park might have. And once I got the approval, that's when I was kind of going to come back, piggyback, and say, hey, what programs do you guys have that we could spotlight at this event for your recreation centers, for your youth, to be able to make them know that it's available.
Great event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Gay?
Well, I'm glad that we had a chance to talk.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that we know we have common interest in Tuskegee, my alma mater.
Yes, sir.
We both know washboard.
Yes, sir.
And so a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Councilman Gay made the motion. Councilman Clay seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous.
Thank you so much for
Appreciate it. Thank
supporting the
you.
foster care community.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Welcome to the
And
neighborhood.
if you have a flyer for the event,
I'm actually going to print it up tonight. We did not want to do anything that could
No,
jeopardize
right.
us. So we didn't want
but
to. I'm sorry.
could you send us
Oh, yes.
for sure, send me an electronic,
Yes, sir,
and
I
I'll
will
put it out
definitely.
on my
I need,
website.
I will
copies
actually
too.
leave,
Yeah,
before I leave
everybody.
today, I will, see if I can step to the side and
Yeah,
get your
because
email address.
I'm sure everybody will want to
If I can
get it
all
on
you
the
guys'
city
email
site.
address, I would
Yeah,
definitely send it to you guys so you guys can have it. And if it's anything you wanted me to spotlight or say or just message for the community, I would love to partner with you and see how we can get some more in-depth on information.
Great,
And
thank you.
this is August 14th?
Yes, sir, which is a Sunday.
Well, I will say you picked a good day. I'll just tell you that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much, ma'am. You guys have a great day.
You too. Items 7C and 7D, discussion and update on the top 10 delinquent utility customer accounts and delinquent taxpayers, property taxpayers. Questions for Ms. Flor Bradley?
I have none.
Anyone?
No, let's just keep getting it in here.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7E, consideration of an action on, thank you, Ms. Flor Bradley.
Thank you.
Consideration of an action on a request for approval to pay an invoice for lease equipment from Motorola Solutions Credit Company for the police public safety radio station system in the amount of $172,561.30. This is a budgeted item. Any questions for Chief McCrary?
This is our standard agreement to support the radios, right?
Yes,
I
sir.
move to approve.
Second.
Okay, hold on. Councilman Allen moved to approve. Councilman Clay seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that's unanimous. Item 7F, emergency replacement of chill water pump number 1. Questions for Ms. Miller? Councilman Clay?
No, obviously we need to do it. I'll move to approve and other people can ask questions.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. Any questions from you?
No.
Councilman Allen?
Nope.
Councilman Gay?
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that was unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 7G is Kids Fest 22 Community Celebration. Ms.
Good
Miller?
evening, Mayor and Council. I have been working with Councilman Carnes, and we are trying to do Kids Fest in conjunction with the Ignite book bag giveaway. And we are seeking $20,000 to host this event at the Convention Center.
I just have one question. We're having National Night Out on the 2nd of August. And on the 14th, we're having the fostered kids, or any of the kids come on the 14th. And we're gonna have another Kids Fest. I mean, I'm for Kids Fest. I just wonder, on the 6th, is there a way that we could take that 20,000 and put kids in our youth programs or something like that? I don't know, I'm just throwing that out.
Well, Mercedes, what are the plans to purchase, or what things or services are planned to be purchased with the 20,000 under?
The $20,000 will be paying for the bouncy houses. It'll be paying for entertainment, for face painting, for books to give away at the event. So that's what it would be covering. We're not having the entertainment like we've had in the past, and it's downsized to less than half of what it's been in the past.
It's downsized to what?
Less than half.
Money-wise?
Less than half space-wise and money. Well, it's way less than half for money-wise.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
It's half space-wise. So it's not just entertainment, you're also purchasing books with it?
Yes. We're
Okay.
purchasing books to give away to the kids. I think the DMO is donating book bags along with the bags that Miss Jamel has. Again, it's bouncy houses, it's
Is it,
big
are
balls.
there any
We're
school
bringing back
supplies
some.
or anything like that in there?
No.
Well, let me say this. The first thing, there's not gonna be any entertainers or any entertainment in that sense, but we're gonna have stuff for the kids. The books are educational books, and if we do get some other corporate sponsors that are gonna come in, which I'm told some are gonna commit, if we do it, then we're gonna get extra school supplies as well, because you never can have enough of those. So, obviously, I think it's something that we need to do, and I think the community would really appreciate it, so.
Okay.
There's no free food in this,
No, sir, we're
this
not
time
giving
around,
away
right?
any food. No.
Okay.
We got
And
vendors.
this is just for residents, is that correct?
It is. It's the anticipated attendance is about 3,000 people. It's supposed to be from 12 p.m. until 4 p.m. So we won't be, in the past, we have advertised on the radio and put it in print. We would not be doing
So
that.
this is a College Park event for College Park residents. The book bags I know are only being given out to College Park residents. And we've all contributed, I think, to those, partially. And Ignite has been working on getting funds and so forth and so on. There's no free food like we've had in the past. And there is an educational component to it in that you're purchasing books. Okay, I understand.
Any other questions?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Councilman Gay. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 7H is consideration of an action on a request to pay Cardno Brownfield cleanup invoice.
I move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Carn. Are there, any conversation on this? Any questions?
No?
Okay, hearing none. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. 7I is consideration of an action on a request for approval to place a four-way stop sign at the intersection of Cambridge and Victoria to reduce speeding and make the area safer for the community while walking. Any questions for Chief McCrary on this one?
No, I brought this up, I think, in my report last time, and we've had numerous citizens bring it up, and police have looked at it. I'm going to move to approve it.
All right, thank you, Councilman Clay.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Item 8A is consideration of an action on a request for bid approval of roof upgrades for the Wyatt Recreation Center. Questions for Ms. Johnson on this one? We've got some options.
Good evening.
We'll start with Councilman Clay.
Well, I normally give a heads up on this, but it was sufficiently complex in my mind anyhow. So the option that you're in favor of is, which one again on here?
So the budget was 300,000. So the complete roof redo is the 594. So option either 2 or 3 would probably be the better bet if we're looking at either the 10-year or a 20-year. And Althea and I did speak on the 20-year, if we could get the longer on but the total replacement is number one
So
option.
if you stay within the budget, you take alternate 2, and you do 5% of the panel replacement, and you have a 5-year warranty, is it?
It's a 10-year warranty on option 2, and then the difference between option 2 and 3 was a 20-year warranty.
Okay.
And that
I
was
mean,
the
it's-
difference
So
in
it's
the-
10 and, so you're doing the same work in those 2 options, it's just the overall warranty.
Correct.
But when I read through this, when you actually get up there and start replacing things, what happens if you find that you need to do more than just that 5% panel replacement?
Correct. And when we had done some quotes prior to doing this, the RFP for this, we went back to the manufacturer when we built the roof. So we were going to do a total replace based on the roof being built exactly the same. Other options, and I do have a representative with Rycars here that he could answer any technical, but we're looking at repairing and putting that metal roof coating on the entire roof. Dale, do you want to come down? Yeah. So maybe he can give you some more.
So you've looked at it enough to know that you only have to replace 5% of the panels. And if you do that, you are then going to coat the entire roof, including the new panels and the old panels, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And the alternate 1 is what then? It says 10%.
It's a complete roof, taking it off and completely redoing the entire roof.
Yeah, basically taking off the.
It's a whole new roof.
A whole new.
Correct, whole new roof.
New panels, new insulation and everything.
Okay, tell me why we would want to do that if we can get a 20-year warranty by going over budget by $35,000.
So when we originally were looking at quotes prior to the RFP, we were getting different options. So we originally went back to what the original roof was, and of course the cost, because it may not be completely damaged. They're just going to completely take it off and replace it. So we wanted to get some sort of a standard to see, and then took a step back there to see if we could do the metal coating to meet our needs for the budget. I don't know if I answered your question.
Okay, so, but we can get a 20-year warranty by replacing 5% of the panels and recoating the entire roof.
Yes, sir.
And that warranty includes parts and labor?
It's got the different breakdown. The warranty is a 20-year warranty with 2-year on the workmanship provided for that option.
So
3.
after that, it's,
Our manufacturer would have a 20-year warranty that we would provide, and us as a contractor would provide a 2-year workmanship.
yeah, but if you're only replacing 5% of the panels, the manufacturer is going to cover the whole roof?
Yeah, because it's their coating system that goes on. Basically, it's a.
Oh, it's based, I'm with you, it's based on the quality of the coating.
Yes, sir. Yeah, because basically what it is a liquid applied system, and once we put it on there, it's a certain millage and thickness that will deliver the whole metal roof system.
Okay, all right, those are my questions, I'll pass it on.
Councilman Carn?
Looking at the 20-year total warranty, at the end of the day, I'd rather see us replace the whole roof and do it right, to be honest. I feel a whole lot better about that. How old is the rec center now?
13 years.
It's been 13 years?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, does it?
Holy
And I'm
cow.
not sure, with you saying replacing the whole roof, I'm not sure if that industry, is that something that they would recommend? We just did it based on that's what it was.
Right.
So,
and is
it's
there-
trying to compare apples
okay.
and oranges to what the industry's doing.
Is it a
to-
possibility that it may not be that much for the full replacement, once you take a look at it?
Yeah, I don't think they're, as far as talking about replacing the panels.
The whole
The
roof.
whole roof.
The whole roof. Replacing the
We've
whole
got an amount there, but I guess my question is, again, I'm assuming you do some kind of assessment before, we go with you guys. Is it a possibility that it would be less of an estimate than what we were looking at what is that, Michelle?
594, 935. With the cost of, they're giving us a quote through July 31st because of the cost of supplies. And
Well, I for one would rather get the whole thing done and just get it done right where we won't have to worry about it anymore. But that's where I'm at with it.
And then I did want to make a correction on the breakdown between the difference between alternate 2 and alternate 3. I had listed 34,910 was the difference, but it was 34,995. So my apologies. It was
And what page are you on?
on the memo. It just told the difference between the 20-year and the alternate number 2 to alternate number 3
So
was
you're off by
34.
$85, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
$85
Okay,
difference. So my apology on the calculations.
All right.
I just didn't want it to be approved for something and it not be the correct amount.
Any other questions, Councilman Carn?
Does the roof leak?
Wait, hold on 1 second,
that's it.
Councilman.
That's all I got.
Okay, Councilman Allen?
What happens if your contingency, your 5% contingency, for panel replacements, you get up there when I've had a couple of houses, the roof, and once they get the roof off, there seems to be a lot more damage than what they think, and they're ending up replacing a lot more. What happens if you get more that have to be replaced than your 5% contingency?
I don't believe there would be more than 5%, just because, we can actually visually see the existing metal roof system now. Mainly it looks like they're having leaks at right now there's like panel laps. It's a metal roof, so it's got some laps in the panels. So it's mainly kind of leaking at those laps. It's like somebody's done some previous repairs at those locations. And also there's over at the closures and stuff, where you have like the ridge cap or head wall closures, it looks like there may be having some leaking issues there. It looks like there may be some areas where you're having issues with some fasteners are backing out, that kind of situation. But what we would do, if you chose the coating option, we would address all the fasteners, check to make sure there's no loose fasteners. If there's any rusted areas, we would kind of treat that with rusted hinder primer before we actually apply the coating system.
What happens if there's less than that? Say you only have to replace 2% contingencies. What happens to that additional money?
Well, that would actually probably could go back to you guys, because basically what we would have, we had to actually have like a base bid, and then whatever its contingency is, the contingency could go back.
Because you're not going to hit 5%. It's going to be over. It's going to be a lot less, and it's always been over that I've had experiences with.
contingency is in
That's
the price.
especially on a roof like that. But
Yes. So, Councilman Gay, you asked about leaks. There has
You
been.
said leaks?
Yes, there has.
And where does the funding come from?
Althea. The funding. Okay.
No, what?
Touch something on the floor.
The initial funding came from hotel motel tax, so I would transfer those funds from hotel motel tax reserves.
Is it in the budget?
300,000.
Yeah, that's right. We said
The
that.
300,000.
You got 300, so if you take option 2, you're only going over budget by $35,000, right?
Correct.
how long the roof been on there now? You said 10 years?
13.
13 years? When did we start having leaks?
Well, I've been in this position 2 years, and it's,
Been leaking for 2.
Sir, are you the same contractor that did the roof originally?
No, sir.
Because,
How long will it take you to do the job, do you know?
It depends on what option you go. Like if you do like a metal replacement, there's lead times on materials about 4 to 6 weeks. But as far as doing the project, I would say, probably about 2 months.
I'm sorry.
Said about 2 months.
2 months.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I move that we choose alternate, what is it, 3, is that right? Yeah, alternate 3. Not the most expensive one. Good, better, best, the better one, right?
Is there a second?
$334,995 or whatever the current number is.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it, but I'd rather get the Cadillac option.
Oh,
but
yeah, so
Yeah,
would I.
agree too, but
These are
can't
tough
see spending
times.
that.
Okay,
There is a second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. All right, so council members Clay, Karn, and Allen are in favor. Councilman Gay is against. The motion passes.
One question about Mercedes. I know we got some leaks at the GICC. I noticed. I'm just at some point. I guess you're gonna bring that to us and.
No, that's one my capital plan down the road.
Okay. All right.
thank you.
8B is consideration of an action on a request for approval to renew the city's annual contract with the collaborative firm for municipal planning services.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilman Gay. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Any questions or comments?
Questions?
Councilman Clay?
I understand that the rate for the contract is up something like, oh, yeah, you're here, good. Is up about 50%. Why don't you go through the same conversation that we had?
Okay, well, let me just, Michael Hightower, the collaborative firm. Mr. Clay, first, thanks for talking on Friday, and on that question, you know what I thought about, Mr. Clay? I think I've been underpaid by 50% by how I've been paying others. I think if you look at what you've paid some other firms, in all due respect, it's not up. As a matter of fact, if you look at the rate that was being paid by other firms of like consultants, which you also paid at a higher rate than me by over $50 an hour. So really, it's just the opposite. I should be saying I've been underpaid by $50 an hour for the last several years.
This is what I wanted everybody to hear.
I'm just being
'cause we've
candid.
had-
I mean,
we've had that
really it's an
discussion.
insult, to be honest with you. I thank you for your consideration, but really it's an insult. And Councilman Wyatt arbitrarily, many years ago, picked up my contract not to even give a reasonable raise. I was on this city council from 1979 to 1986. One of the best city planners was Mr. Bob Subin. In probably 1982, Bob was making $6 less than I'm making now almost 35 years ago. So it's not an increase. But I've been underpaid by a couple people that you guys have paid for years. And I appreciate your consideration.
I didn't want to just go ahead and
but I thank you for bringing it up.
blindly approve it without
But I do appreciate you bringing it
hearing the
up.
story.
Because after we talked on Friday, and thank you for the conversation, I thought about it all weekend. You know what? It's not an increase. It's what I've been underpaid by a couple of people. What did y'all pay the Andy Welch last meeting? What did y'all pay Sizemore for 4 months under the former mayor? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But sometimes at home you get the worst treatment, but I appreciate being here.
Thank you, Mr.
That's all
Hightower.
I want to do.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Item 8C. Is that still on the that was not removed from the agenda? So consideration and action on an agreement between the City of College Park and Icon Filmworks for video production services.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilman Gay. Is there a second?
Second with discussion.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Councilman Carr.
And now, this is another, I guess, new thing to me since I've been back. And I think we're getting great coverage, don't get me wrong. But I know there was a time where we would just do this ourselves in-house with, cameras or whatever have you. I know Gerald would grab a camera and, well, for the longest time, we weren't videotaping these council meetings at all. Because Councilman Phillips really had an issue with that. And I remember he used to always say, well, we go down there to deliberate, and if it's important enough for residents, and they want to know what's going on, they need to come down here and see what's going on. But in retrospect, it's 2022. I am aware of the date. So obviously, we got to move with the times. So I just wanted to put that out there. But now you are our new PIO, right?
Yes, I'm the new Director of Communications.
All right. Okay. Well,
Welcome, Ms. Harrison.
Thank
glad
you.
to have you on board. And
Thank
yeah, and this fella, I think he does a great job. Don't get me wrong, but the older you get, the more new you ask questions about it. Not that I'm against it, so I'm with you. All right.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Councilman Clay?
I did ask a question. Mahershala put it on the agenda, and I got, and I realized she wasn't in a position to have all the facts and so forth. But what I'm trying to figure out is, from somebody, what is the impact on the budget? In other words, first off, there's the scope of services, and then there's the rate per hour that's being charged for the services. Is the rate per hour any different than it was last year?
No, the rate for service is not any different than what it was last year. So definitely we've been working with Icon Media pretty much on an invoice basis. So having a conversation with him today, we were really just kind of talking about what were the benefits of actually having a contract. So of course, having a contract means that they are obligated versus it being optional. For example, if someone were to call them and ask them to host an event or live stream an event and their cost is higher than it is for us, then they have the option of choosing them versus being obligated to us. So putting them on contract is going to obligate them, and it's also going to provide some stability for College Park as well as them.
So is this simple question, is what we budgeted for these services for this fiscal year going to cover it?
I think it will. I think what we have on the contract currently is going to cover it.
Althea, what do we have in the budget for the services for this?
I'm not exactly sure what's in the budget. However, I believe there is about 50,000, but I can get a firm number
Okay, so
in
you
about
think,
5
you
minutes.
think what we have in the budget is 50,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with our current plans for this fiscal year, what will the services cost us this fiscal year then? If we've got 50,000 in the budget for this fiscal year, will this be in budget?
Last year, based on the information I received, it was about $37,000 we spent.
37?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and we've not expanded the scope of services dramatically at all?
No, we have not expanded the scope of services. The caveat to that is that we haven't really fully utilized them to their full capabilities. And that's something that we really want to expand on this year.
You may be doing more. You may be doing more of things as opposed to different things. Is that true?
Yes and no. So we will be doing more of things. We're really hoping to be able to capture more of that storytelling component. Right now, we've primarily been using them for council events, for the work groups. We really want to branch out and use their full scope of services.
Okay, so we're going to be going out and capturing, just like our photography services, we're going to be going out and capturing events in addition to formal council meetings.
Absolutely, that's a part of our
And you
goal.
feel you can keep that within the $50,000 budget?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
We can fix
Then-
that.
Well, you're new. We haven't met yet. We're meeting now, I guess. But, okay, well, we're gonna expect you to keep that within that $50,000 budget.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Yeah, in addition to the additional events, so if we have additional events, now, I see here, it looks like there's a cap. I see 24. So is that our limit for the year? Is that what that means? Or do we, if we have other events, is it gonna cost us more money? Or,
Yes, so what we did was we put that recommended amount, those 2 events per month. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly 2 per month.
Right.
It could be 1 this month, 3 the next month. We're not gonna cap it to say you have to use your 2 every month. But what we will do is that we'll make it so that if you need more event coverage, we can make it happen. It's not an issue for us.
okay, but it'll cost us more, or?
We'll work out a prorated fee for it. I mean, like, I can't sit there, we can't sit there and, have videographers, have the team come out and shoot, edit, produce a video and it,
I
not,
got you. All right.
the
I
team not be
understand.
compensated.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, okay, all right.
Any other questions?
No, I think you got up to speed pretty quick. She came right out with the answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8D is approval of purchase of 7.47 acres from MARTA.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No?
All right. So that motion passes with Councilman Clay, Carn, and Allen in favor, Councilman Gay opposed. We have no old business, no new business. City Attorney's report.
Nothing this evening, ma'am.
City Manager's report.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to say that I'm glad that the Global Gateway Connector Bridge has finally got a contract for it so that we can start seeing some activities out there, starting at the MARTA station in John Wesley to go down to John Wesley Avenue. I'd just like to say that. I did talk again to the Public Works Director. We are going to get a list of the streets and sidewalks for resurfacing for the Mayor and Council to review by August 1st. And of course, just a reminder, we're going to start collecting October 1st, the most. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Report of Mayor and Council. We'll start to my left. Councilman Gay.
I think I've said what was most important about the senior tax exemption. I just want to reiterate for the record that we had an opportunity to let the citizens vote it up or down. I'm very disappointed at my colleagues. I want to thank Councilmember Cohen for his leadership, and I'm not saying that because I need any favors or I need his support, because I don't. I appreciate his leadership and his maturity on this council. We were at odds for many years, and we had a conversation, and he vowed to do right by the community, and I support his decision to do that. I'm extremely disappointed with my colleagues. I'm absolutely not surprised. I'm very disappointed with our executive, with our leadership. None of you directors, you won't take a stance. At the little money y'all make, it's not worth not taking a stand. It's not. Because if you were to take a stand, you would make a lot more than you making now. And so, you know, I was just outside and the gentleman was saying, listen, man, you did all you could do. This community one day is going to be real proud of the fight that you fight for them. But gentlemen, I'm extremely disappointed, and I'm going to be candid with you. I'm going to close by saying this. You're going to have to be careful of the decisions you make, because in life, as my grandfather said, you know, things come back at you. I mean, we have elected officials who are not even living anymore, and I'm still standing. I'm still up here, and they're gone to meet their Lord and Savior. That day will come. That's why at the back of my email it says, only what you do for God will last. This life is very short. But to make these decisions because of prejudice or discrimination or I got the other vote, wait, we got the votes. We ain't got to do it. That day will come. That day will come, and you would have to stand accountable for the decisions that you made. That day will come. That's why I voted for Jack Longino's name to be on the building. One of the worst persons that ever treated me. But God said, the battle is not yours. And I'm still standing here. I'm still standing here. And I predict I will continue to sit here. And that was very disrespectful what y'all did to those citizens. You got attorneys that go out and fight for gun injustice. They don't even make money. And here we sitting here comfortably with all of this money. But we won't stand up and we won't say nothing because it's not political correct, or we might miss a mortgage payment, or we can't get our car note paid. And I want to close by saying this. When I came to College Park in 1998, I was the national recognized landscape. I had been in the latest home journal. I was featured every Sunday in the AJC garden section of city manager. And the people from New York used to come to my home and photograph my garden because I went to Tuskegee. I majored in plant soil science. And in 1998, I went through a divorce and came to College Park with my new family, and I said, man, this is going to be a great city. I am so excited to be in College Park. And the first thing, it was a contract to redo the sign across the street at that historical building. It was a sign. And Eric Stipe, who has passed, I says, well, this is not a big landscape contract, but I can get my foot in the door in College Park by redoing the sign. I bid and I didn't get it. I said, okay, I got to learn the system. And then James Phillips Park came around. They needed a $450,000 contract to improve the park. I said, well, shoot, I'm college degreed, I'm national recognized, I done did hundreds of thousands of dollars of landscape ads. I told my wife, this is going to be a bonanza. This is going to be a great town. Bidded on it, no consideration, none. But the guy who did do it, he died. He had a heart attack. I told you that, Michelle. He died right out there on those bricks. I'm still sitting here. And what is my point? I decided to bid on the mowing of the GICC. To this day, not one African-American minority or woman cuts the grass at the GICC. We can't even cut the grass. Can't even cut the grass. Now you may think I'm entertaining you. You may think that he gets off and he enjoys hearing himself talk. But if you knew our struggle, if you just knew how serious this was, you would be very concerned. We should be very, very, very disappointed in some of the decisions that we make. Very disappointed. I am so disappointed that in 2022, I deal with men and women who won't support things that matter to people's lives. But at election time, they knocking on our doors, in our apartments, at our parks. And then when you need them, they use big words. Words that we don't even hardly understand. Last but I want to say, we just had a retreat, and we had a conversation about what matters. And I'm going to be done, Mayor, but I want to tell you something. In 1998, I told my wife I was going to come to council meeting. In 1998, I walked right down here, and I had spent almost a week putting together an international park at the 18 acres. I did. I sit there and designed it myself. 30 years later, Jamestown The 18 acres is still blighted with dumpsters 30 years later. But yet, over the 30 years, we've spent over $100 million. I was just in Somerville, Ken. Somerville. Anybody been to Somerville? Somerville has just had a resurgence of development. Man, you don't even recognize the community. Whoever their leadership is, they ain't over there worrying about their ego. They ain't worried about them going home telling their wife they got their food that they work with, they can't get nothing done. That community, I don't even recognize it. And it's only been 4 years. 4 years. We've been sitting up here for 8 years, and this city struggles to do anything. But all you are good at is spending our money. That's all you do is spend our money. And you give us our mandated services. That's what you do. The city of South Fulton, what's their budget? What, 15 million, 20 million? A little bit higher? We got $140 million. And you won't give 180 to taxpayers. The last thing I'm going to say is, I'm not embarrassed. I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of those people that cared enough to come down here, but I'm extremely disappointed at the leadership. And I pray, and I pray, I pray, I pray. And I will be out there knocking on doors. I will knock on every door. I'll knock on every door, and I will let them remember that, hey, when it was time for them to vote for you, they came up with big words. Please, please, please don't bring them back. Please don't bring them back. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Allen?
Okay, first of all, Ms. Harrison, welcome. Did a good job tonight. Appreciate it. The Parks and Recreation, I think the helicopter's coming in, when, Thursday? Wednesday. Okay, the 13th. So 1 to 2. If you kids want to come out and walk up to a helicopter, get your picture taken with the helicopter, come out. It's quite a sight to see the helicopter come in. Met this morning with some of the people from the College Park Main Street Association, and we talked about bike paths, pedestrian safety, and I think you'll probably be seeing some pushes to get some more bike paths or some bike lanes. Whether it gets done or not, I don't know, but I think you'll probably see some things coming up about that in the near future. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Councilman Carr?
A couple of things. First of all, I wanted to, wanted to send our condolences out again to Miss Garrison and her family. I remember my wife, she lost her father, and it was, everybody's going to have to go through that type of stuff at some point. City manager, I don't know if we can do something or send some flowers or something along those lines, but let's see what we can do there. Oh, boy, I'm excited tonight, and, I've been following this James Webb telescope thing for the last 3 years, and I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with it, but tomorrow we're finally going to get some pictures, and there's this fella, Greg Robinson, that I know. He's the director of that program, and I was going to travel down to the launch, and but anyway, it's a really exciting science kind of a deal, and some of y'all will see me with my Webb telescope lapel pin that I have. Sometimes I wear that, but anyway, it's a big deal tomorrow for a lot of us folks that do a little stargazing. I got a nice sized telescope at home, and anyway, the council retreat. It's a good retreat. I won't go into a whole lot of detail with it at all. Overall assessment, we got some work to do. We got some work to do. No city is perfect, and we're certainly not perfect, but we got some work to do, and we're going to continue to work towards being the best city that we can for your tax-paying dollars. I got some serious issues and concerns with my city council packet this time around, and this might seem like a nit, but I have never, Jackson, received a packet like this ever before in my life, where I couldn't find anything and nothing was put together I mean, simple portions of the packet, like the council minutes, are stapled together or clipped together with this set of minutes or this agenda item or whatever. Everything was a loose leaf bunch of paperwork, and my desk is a blizzard right now. I gotta, think about just leaving all this up here, just throwing it all in the trash, but I've never gotten a packet like that before, ever. And this is my 4th term in office, so if we can do something about that, that'd be great. In terms of votes, we had some passionate issues up here, and, in terms of votes, you win some, you lose some. You gotta stand on your principles, and you make your best decision on that, but you can't, that's just how it goes sometimes. Melissa, I want to thank you so much for the warning signs at the bridge at Herschel Road. I saw them flashing today, and I'm assuming that's the testing and the whole nine and whatnot, but they look great, and I really, really do appreciate it. I'm very excited about this Keep College Park beautiful. I was glad to meet Mrs. Kennedy. Is it Kennedy? Miss Kennedy. So looks like you picked a winner there. So I'm excited about that, and I'll have my board pick probably by the end of the week. The Global Gateway Bridge. So we're going to do a groundbreaking, Jackson. Is that? Did we get with GDOT for a groundbreaking ceremony with Congressman Scott, or what's? You think it?
I was gone a couple of days this past week, so I'm trying to get caught up.
All right. Well, let's try to. I'd like to see that happen, and I know you said we had to get GDOT's green light to do a.
Yeah, I think we got it now, so it's just.
Okay, so we do. We got it.
Yeah, we're good to go, sir. It's just that I hadn't had a chance to.
Okay.
Circle back, as they say.
Well, I want us to make a point to reach out to Congressman Scott's office, because he definitely fought to make sure we got that bridge, and we want to recognize him there and make sure he's there and do something there, because that's a big deal.
Amen.
And Congressman Scott has been on the battlefield a very long time. I mean, before he became congressman, he served 27 years in the state legislature. So, he's definitely earned it, and so I want to make sure we do something nice there. Where are we with the renaming ceremony for City Hall? I want to get an update on that, maybe at some point. So you can just get that to me if you can find out where that's at. I don't want it to just fall completely off the radar. So, in terms of minority participation, do we need to do more? Yes, I think so. We don't, contract with enough minority and female business enterprises in particular, I believe. So we do have to work on it. I was glad to see this outfit, the Roofers, was an African-American owned business. So I was glad about that. Last 2 things. Jackson, I would like to, on the next agenda, have a Wally Park update with some persons from the Wally Park project or representatives to see where in the world that is at and what's going on over there. So I would like that, if possible. And I think that's all I had.
All right. Did you want to add something, Mr. Myers?
Yes, I just talked last Wednesday about Wally Park, and I talked to Pond and Company, and so we are getting back together. They're starting it back up because all the people that were there disappeared. So just wanted to let you know today, as of today, I talked to them last week, so we are bringing that back up, and you will find out something. So you're going to have to give me 3 or 4 weeks to get everything, but we have brought it back up, and then we are working.
Or if you can just get me a little summary from them. Here's where everything is. Here's what's going on paper. I take that just to kind of know where it's at, because I get questions from our apartment communities, our 4 apartments along that corridor. They'll say, "Joe, you said we'd have some hotels back here and a drugstore and this, that, and the other, and that was 7 years ago, 8 years ago." What So they always ask me about that. So I'd like to be able to tell them something about it, where it's at. So yeah, that's all I had.
I think I heard Mr. Meyer say it might take him a little bit longer than the next meeting.
Okay, well, the sooner we can get it, the better. That'd be great. We've been waiting a long time too. Tell them
Yes,
we've
sir,
been
but-
waiting too. All right.
All right. Councilman Clay?
Yes, I've got several things. First off, we had a real tragedy on June 24th. Gentleman was killed crossing the tracks at Harvard and Maine, and I looked at the video. I don't understand how it happened. He clearly had to see the signals flashing. He clearly had to see the guardrail down. He walked diagonally across the track and was hit in the back by a train. Now, the only thing, and it was prompted by a citizen who actually witnessed the accident. And they sent me an email recently, and that actually, because at the time it happened, I don't know, I was into a number of other things, and I didn't look at the video at that time. So it prompted me to bring it up, take a look at it, and the only thing that I could have thought that might have made a difference was if the guardrail, if a guardrail, maybe another guardrail, had come down on the east side of the track where the pedestrian walkway is. So in other words, you're on the east side of you're on the south side of Harvard, on the east side of the track going west, and you're in the pedestrian walkway there. And when it goes into the road, there isn't a clear distinction between what's pedestrian and what's road.
Right.
Had there been, the guardrail comes down, it's a long guardrail, but I don't think it actually clears that pedestrian walkway. Covers, crosses the pedestrian walkway. Jackson, could we take a look at that and see if there's anything else that CSX could do? And I realize it sounds crazy because the whole thing makes no sense at all. I mean, I don't understand how you could see the flashers, the guardrail down, and everything else, and maybe this is just an unavoidable accident. There's some things you just can't protect people from. But I just wish we could at least take a look at it and see if there's anything else. Because one concern I have, guys, is, as I remember, when we got the silent crossing capability, it was based partly on the number of accidents that we had. And there was, I recall, some concern at the time that we needed to do things in such a way that we didn't have a bunch of fatalities and accidents there. Now, maybe I'm not remembering it right.
We did, and we talked about that, and it cost us, that quiet crossing, $600,000.
Yes, it did.
I remember.
So the thing is I don't want to lose our quiet crossing certification either. My first concern is the person that got killed. But my second concern is that I don't actually believe there's anything you can do about it. I believe even if there had been a pedestrian guardrail there, the person would have gone under it or around it or something. But
Sir, I've even seen him at John Wesley crawl between the trains when it's blocking it. Yes, John Wesley, it's Corner Grill. People are going to do what people do. And we follow in the Federal Railroad Administration in Washington, and we've had 2 inspections since this, and we're right in line with the regulations.
But we're in line with the regulation, but is there a way to ask the experts if we did one more thing, even went above the regulation? In other words, we did more than the regulation required. Is there any way that we might have avoided that accident? That's where I'm coming from.
Well, there's lights and there's a bell at all those intersections. John Wesley, every one of them, Rugby, they all have bells and they all have lights flashing. I really don't know what I could do. I know you and I talked about it, and I went and looked. I'm sorry, I don't know. I could put a concrete barricade over there on that side, but then that caused them to go out into the street. So it's just, it's just.
Yeah, I don't know. I just throw that out. I'd sure wish we could take a look at something like that. Okay, next item on the agenda, the Women's Club. Women's Club is having their 125th anniversary. They are unique among most Georgia women's club in that they own their own building. They have owned their own building, and it's been in existence for a long, long time. And this is their 125th anniversary. They're going to be celebrating that just for a couple hours on September 24. And they have a request in to Chevala. It's going to be coming on the next council meeting, the August 1st council meeting. They want to shut down rugby for 2 hours from 3 to 5 on the 24th, and they just in the portion of the block, really right next to the Women's Club. I've already talked to police and fire. They don't see it as a problem, and they've submitted the paperwork to Chevala. It looked okay to me. It'll be on the agenda for August 1st. But they're also talking about, they'd like to put some banners up, and they're willing to pay for the banners and what have you, just like we've done for a lot of other things, athletic championships and what have you. So that's just a heads up on that. Joe covered the status of the City Hall renaming, so I was going to ask about the same thing. I don't know, we weren't talking about it, but your mind and mine is on the same channel. Helicopter notice, Councilman Allen talked about the helicopter. Neat event. I saw it last year. I didn't see the first one. I actually have the notice out on the notices page of my website, so if you want to print it and send it to somebody or copy it and email it, do whatever you want with it, but it's out on the website. I got it today. And the last thing I wanted to mention, I too want to talk about the senior tax exemption. I would like staff to now move forward to take that second bite of the apple.
Great idea.
And get it this time. We need to be on top of it, and our lobbyist needs to be on top of it, and we need to sit down. Councilman Gay moved to approve the contract for our lobbyists this year. I was dubious, to be honest, but they did a good job of getting the most tax through, and I felt, okay, but I was very disappointed in the fact that the lobbyists didn't ensure that what we wanted was actually happening. So I would strongly suggest that we remind our lobbyists that this is a high priority item. We expect them to stay on top of it, and that we take a second bite of the apple and get it on the agenda for next year so that it can be passed.
Absolutely.
That's all I had.
Thank you, sir. I will start with where you ended. I wholeheartedly agree. I would love to see it on our first meeting in January, and I'm sure Mr. Denmark and his team will make sure that every I is dotted and T crossed to make sure that we are keeping up with the status of the legislation as it moves through, moves under the gold dome. And so I think that we need to go back at it as soon as possible. I appreciate all three of you being there for both days of the retreat. I think it was a good basis for a reboot, and I am encouraged as we move forward to continuing our conversations and continuing to strengthen our body. I want to send out condolences to Commissioner Ralph Hodgins on the loss of his wife. Commissioner Hodgins has served on the Housing Authority Commission for a number of years now, and I just want to know that we're all thinking and praying for him in his time of need. July 16th, mark your calendars, 8 to 12. There's a community cleanup at all of our rec centers and parks. Looking forward to seeing everyone with that in partnership with Keep College Park Beautiful and Recreation Month. And also wanted to share and send my appreciation to all of the good folks around the state who saw fit to elect me as the third vice president of the Georgia Municipal Association. I'm looking forward to serving in that capacity and continuing to work on behalf of this city to make sure that we are bringing home the resources that we need. We had part of the conversation that we had at the retreat was in regard to workforce development, and GMA has some good resources for us to start that conversation, and the partnership with the Georgia Municipal Association is an important one, and look forward to strengthening that and keep moving forward. So we've got one action item out of executive session, and that is to, give me one moment here, get my language right. Is there a motion to approve the bank settlement with the terms as outlined?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye, aye.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't. All right, so all three members present are in favor. That motion passes. We did not approve the executive session minutes. We did not go over the executive session minutes in executive session.
We signed off on them.
Well, yeah, you started something. We can do it next time and just do it together.
Why don't we go ahead and do it next time? If that's okay with the body.
Need to sign off.
Yeah, I didn't either, so.
Next time is in August 1?
Yes, on August 1st. So we'll handle both of those at that time.
Okay.
All right, so I think that concludes the business for the evening. Appreciate everyone being here. We are adjourned at 10:30. Take care.
Chief, just 2 minutes before you